What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone, and welcome back to an interesting news video because Comolli spoke. So it was clean yesterday, and Comolli spoke right now, a couple of hours ago, or an hour or two ago, and it's an important one because he said Vlahovic can stay, and he said Nico Gonzalez can stay, and Douglas Luiz is leaving when we basically say he's leaving, and Tima is leaving when we decide he can leave to join a club. And for the first time in a very long time, he spoke about Colomani as well, which is going to be interesting. But the first time I heard Comolli speak, and I was like, yeah, I agree. For once, this club is setting certain standards in a very difficult situation for the club, and I will talk about that in a sec. He said one part about winning, which I'm going to leave out of this video. I'm going to leave that out for tomorrow's morning video because otherwise it's going to cloud everything he actually did say and was very positive in my opinion. But before we get into it, hit the like button, smash the like button, do that right now. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification as well. Almost back home, so I will do my regular live shows, which I'm kind of missing at this moment in time. But first off, let's start with Vlahovic, because he said, very simple, we have an agreement with Vlahovic's agent that he can leave. However, he's going to leave on our demands, on what we want. He's not going to leave for 5 million euros and etc. If not, he's going to stay. Now, keep in mind, Vlahovic is not going to stay. The club doesn't want to keep Vlahovic. This is bluffing. This is trying to keep the price high. This is telling Milan, you're not going to wait until August and offer us 5 million, because 5 million at that point, we're just keeping Vlahovic for the season and that's it. We're not going to let Vlahovic leave. So basically what he's saying, we told Vlahovic and his agent that as well. If you want to play football next season, you find a club and you convince that club to spend the money on you right now and not waiting until the end of August, because if that happens, we're just going to keep you and you're not going to play football a lot. That's basically what Comolli is saying. He's bluffing, but he's bluffing in the right way. He's playing the game the way it should be played. This is the situation. You cannot just gift all the players away, because we've been doing that. If Milan want Vlahovic, spend the money for Vlahovic. It's not a lot of money we're asking, 20 million euros. It's not a lot of money for Vlahovic. If they want to spend 10 millions at the end of August, what he's saying is he's not going to leave. He basically told his agent that as well, pretty sure, and said, if you want your player to play football, if he wants to play football next season, go to that team and tell them we're not going to operate like that, basically. It's same goes for Tima Weah, because he spoke about Tima Weah. And he said that he wants to go to Marseille, which we all know. But he also said, but in football, you can't just choose a club. If the right offer doesn't come in, you stay on the sideline, basically. And the offer hasn't arrived yet. Again, that's how it works. You can pick a team. We cannot force you to join a team, which is the game. We tried to send him to Nottingham Forest. This is not the NBA or the NFL. And he said, no. Timothy Weah said, I'm not going to Forest. Fair enough. You cannot force him. However, it works the other way around as well. And that's not what his agent is getting. If his agent and Timothy Weah are saying, I want to go Marseille, Juve is like, fine, you can go to Marseille, but that's the money we want. If Marseille is not offering the money, then you're going absolutely nowhere. It's as simple as that. You sign the contract, you say no to Nottingham Forest, fair enough, you are allowed to say no, and the club is allowed to say no to an offer from Marseille. It's as simple as that. That's how it works. Now, you can sit out, basically, and players do sit out to force a transfer, but even in those circumstances, a lot of the clubs, most of the clubs, get their money. They get their money. And these clubs usually get their money, and we should be getting our money. I think that's normal. It's basically for Vlahovic the same. And that's how it should be. Like the Vlahovic situation, pay the money or you're not leaving. It's as simple as that. I don't want to hear we accepted something from Nottingham Forest. We accepted from Nottingham Forest less because they were signing Mbangula, and at the time Mbangula had no other offers. And on top of that, it was money on the books before July, before the new financial season for the club. So it was a different situation. Now we're in a different situation and the club wants more money. At the end of the day, the club is in charge. You want to play for Marseille? ask him to pay more. If not, well, you're staying. Because if you want to leave, you're going to force your way out of the club. That's how players work. And Comolli is saying, well, if you want to force out, you're not going to play. Ask Marseille to pay the money. We dictate the terms. And again, maybe down the line he will, loosen up a little bit. But right now, we are in charge. And that's how it should be, as always. Then he went on Jadon Sancho because he was asked about Jadon Sancho. And he said, we have two of the best wingers in the world, which is a lie. I said Yildiz and Conceição. Conceição is not one of the best wingers in the world, and that's, I mean, you're bigging him up, obviously, but he's not one of the best, and Yildiz isn't really going to play as a winger. And then he also said, plus we have Nico Gonzalez, who's an excellent player. If somebody leaves, he will be ready on the market. Obviously, he's not going to come out and say, well, Nico Gonzalez stinks, we want him out. That's not going to happen, but it's very obvious. Sancho's only arriving if somebody else is leaving. And maybe if somebody else is leaving, Sancho's not even arriving because we waited so long that Sancho decided to go somewhere else. That's the game we're playing. And maybe at the time, if he goes somewhere else, the club is like, okay, we're not even selling Nico Gonzalez at this moment in time. All those things can happen. Those are very realistic things that could happen this summer, and we need to, keep an eye on it and keep an eye on it, obviously, but also be realistic about it, that those things can actually happen. Then he went on and he talked about Douglas Luiz, because he made it very clear. He said Douglas Luiz didn't show up. He disrespected the club, the players, the fans, everybody. He apologized, and this is a no-go. He said, I told the players, you can absolutely not do that, because otherwise consequences will arrive. And he can leave. Douglas Luiz is one of those players who also can leave the club, and we all know that, but he's trying to keep those things, those values high. He's not going to say, well, he's out of the squad right now. Obviously, he fined him. He said this is unacceptable, all the obvious things. All in all, the interview is very, very simple. It's not throwing everyone under the bus. It's keeping the value somehow high, and it's also telling the club, the players, club's interest in saying, we dictate the terms, not you guys. Yeah, you might be out of the project, but we're not just going to give you away. So many players are out of Chelsea's project. Many of them actually bad players. They still get value because they're like, they are out, but we dictate the terms. You're not going to lowball us. Yes, we will knock off a couple of millions of the price because obviously we don't want these players, but you're not going to disrespect us with an offer where it's like, yeah, take it because you want them out. We're not going to do that. That's what Comolli is doing, and I actually need to rate that. I actually need to rate that. He set the standard right now. Obviously needs to keep the standard, and he's going to need to deliver. That's obviously. But this was the first step. This was the first step, and he took it, and that's cool. Second part of the interview, he said some crazy things. Not going to do that in this video. That's for tomorrow. But let me know in the comments what you think about his comments and how he set himself up in this interview. And we will discuss it in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll speak again soon. Ciao.